All right, so we're going to go ahead and style this NoScript section. I'm just going to turn off the inspector for a minute. If we jump back over to our HTML, you see that we've got NoScript, and it's in the bottom of the page, but it's not technically inside the footer. You see that the footer ends before we start to load our JavaScript. So that's actually going to work in my favor because I want my navigational links to go 100%. And remember, the footer is going to have some padding or margins. I forget which exactly it is that we added to it. But yeah, we want the NoScript, or at least I want the NoScript to go all the way to both edges of the viewport. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and create something that has a descendant rule for nav NoScript. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and, if we take a look at our browser, I think what I'm going to have is I'm going to have a dark background for these, and I think it might be nice to have a delineating border at the top. So I'm going to create, I'm going to go at the bottom below my footer rule, and I'm going to create a rule called NoScript, and then I think, what was it I said? It was nav, and then nav navigate. So I'll say nav navigate, and I'm going to tell it to have a border top of, I don't know, I'm just going to say 2 pixels, and we'll pick a color, and I'm going to pick white. I can always change it later. Just going to see how that looks. White, and then I'll give it a solid line. Okay, and then the next thing that I want to also do is look at this and see that in fact I want my list items to take up a certain percentage of its parent. Well, nav and UL are block level elements, and so those elements are, and also list items are block level, so they're all going to take up 100% natively unless I tell it to do something different. So really what I think I want to pay attention to is how to style this anchor tag, because that's what I want to give a background color. I want to, you know, if I want to give it hoverable properties, we're going to pay attention to that, okay? So I'm going to jump back into my CSS here, and I'm going to use this rule as my base rule, and then I'm going to add on to it. So I could say ULLIA if I wanted to be very specific. And I'm going to tell it first off to be display block, because I want it to take up the full range of the space. Oops. That's what I meant to hit. So display block. And I'm also going to go ahead and tell it, I'm going to tell it to be a width of 86%, because I think that was a pretty common one that I chose for some of my other rules, but I'm going to give it padding so that there's 0 padding on top and bottom, but that there's 7 on each side. So 7 plus 86 equals 100% total. And then the other thing that I'm going to do too is go ahead and tell it to have a border bottom. And I'm just going to, for right now, I'm just going to pick a color, and I'm going to give it a line. You know, I could do something, you know, like a border, or excuse me, a shadow or something like that. But instead, I'm just going to give it a border that's solid. That's 1 pixel. I'm just trying to show you how you can get this up and running pretty quickly. And let's also just go ahead and tell it to have a background, because right now it's white. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to be black. So let's just do 0, 0, 0. Okay. Let's just save that, and let's take a look at it really fast. Hit refresh, and then you see this is what it'll look like at the bottom. That's not necessarily exactly the way I would want it to look. You know, maybe this white line is too heavy, maybe these orange lines are too bright. I don't know. But the point is that whenever I click on menu here, it jumps down and it will bring this to view. Now, one of the things that you can look at, it's most likely going to be true on a phone, is that this will be narrower, and you could also tell this to take up more height if you wanted it to take up the, you know, more of the space. You could do a lot of different things with the styling of this. And I'm going to leave that up to you, but this basically gives people an alternative way to navigate. The other thing that you could also do is you could make another button at the bottom here that either says, you know, like has a little arrow. It says, you know, go to top or close or something like that, so that people are going to be taken right back up to the top. And of course, you would have to jump back up to an ID that's up here. And that's some pretty basic HTML kinds of tricks. But I want to just show you as a reminder, if I go ahead and fix my JavaScript so that it's turned back on again, and I refresh that page, I see I'm not being jumped down to the bottom. I'm still getting my menu like I'm supposed to. It's working properly. When I turn it back off again, like I'll do here, and refresh the page, it jumps down and it takes me here. Okay, and so that still your navigational tools are still going to be accessible.